Here's a cool car. This is a Renault. And like I said,
Caravelle.
I told you before, I went for a ride in a Renault Turbo. It was that gentleman, Tom Papadopoulos, who took me for the ride.
The R5 Turbo, really?
Yeah, it was very cool. And I think he Frankensteined that car a little. I mean, he made it bespoke.
That car
which
was
is what he'd like to
Frankenstein
say.
from the factory.
But he made it even more. Is this good? How are you?
I'm good.
I'm
Thanks,
Michael.
Jonathan.
Nice to meet you. And this is Matt. Is that your Renault?
Yes, it is.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about it? I'll give you this mic.
It's a 1961 Renault Caravelle, known in Europe as the Florida. The car is 100% original, unrestored. Original paint, chrome interior. I've owned the car about 25 years. Purchased the car from the original owner who owned it. It's got 33,000 miles on it. And just some basic maintenance, and that's all I've really done to the car.
It's got a rear engine. People really can't tell that, but there's a grill in the back. It's water cooled. Now, what mechanicals, what chassis is this based on? The R8?
Yeah, it's based on that. Horsepower on the car is not very much horsepower, about 43 horsepower.
How much does it weigh?
Yeah, not quite sure.
It is, but how sprightly is it? Because you're talking about what a Beetle would put out at the time.
Yeah, it's not very powerful, not very powerful at all, but once you're up on the highway, it moves pretty good.
How many of these were made? Because the French, every manufacturer, Peugeot had their custom coupes and stuff like that, and Renault had others like this. How popular were they in Europe at the time?
In Europe, they were quite popular. Here in the States, even though they were sold here in the States, they weren't as popular. There were other choices on the market for people to purchase. You'd be hard-pressed to find one on the road these days. You'll see them once in a blue moon at a car show. Their sister car also, the sedan version of this, was called the Renault Dauphine. And same thing, they made quite a few of them. They were imported to this country as well, but again, not a hugely popular car.
What got you into them?
I wasn't really particularly looking for this car, but I heard about it and went to see it, and I was very impressed that it was the original owner. It was unrestored, and I prefer to purchase cars that are original unrestored cars. And you see what you get, it's only original one time.
Absolutely. Now, is it obviously not your only car?
No, I have quite a few.
What's your collection like? What other cars?
They're mainly unique type of cars, vary from Fiat Jolly to a Fiat 1200 TV convertible, various BMWs and things like that.
Isettas or?
No, BMW 3.0 CSL.
Now you're talking. The E9. Thank you. One of my favorites.
2002 Turbo.
There's one over there, by the way.
Yeah, I saw that.
Over in the BMW display.
Yeah, very nice.
Yeah, I'm very enthusiastic about the BMW coupes, German coupes in general. I like Audi A5s. I own 325 Ci 46 coupe, so I've always loved them. But there is a common thread to all the cars you mentioned.
Yeah,
they're all oddballs.
Yes, that's what I prefer. Something different, something unique, something that you don't see every day.
Now we have to explain what a Jolly is. It is a standard Fiat 600, right?
Fiat 500.
500.
They made two versions. They made Fiat 500. They made Fiat 600. And basically, Ghia, Carrozzeria Ghia, they basically took about 100 of the bodies from the production line at Fiat, brought them to his own production, and basically chopped the tops and made some modifications, put some wicker seats inside, left the engine pretty much alone, and then put them on the market to sell. Most of them were used for resorts in Europe, and when people checked into the resort, they would just bring them to their cabin or their hotel room with these little things and their luggage in there.
Yeah, effectively glorified golf carts.
Basically they don't really have production numbers on them. There was maybe 100 and some odd produced total production. Some of them were sold in this country, differences being the extended headlights versus the headlights that were in. Engines, everything, body were pretty much the same. And maybe there's not very many left now, maybe 20 or 30 left. You see once in a while they pop up at auctions across the country.
So along this thread of oddballs, are there any other oddballs you have your eye on?
Yeah, not that I have my eye on, but I have 4 other oddballs. They're my daughters.
How do they like these? How do they like the Caravelle?
Every chance that they could get, they try to drive in there.
Well, it is unique. It is something special, and it's definitely something you don't see all the time, and I can imagine what the parts are like to get.
Very scarce, very hard to get. That's originally one of the reasons why I purchased this car, because everything is on it, and there was nothing missing. So that's a big bonus.
Did Renault make the bodies?
Not quite. No, Ghia.
Ghia did. Ghia made the bodies. It's not just the Ghia design; was Ghia manufactured.
Yes.
So like the Carmen Ghia. So it's Renault's version of the Carmen Ghia.
Exactly.
Well, thank you very much.
That was a pleasure meeting you.
That was a very interesting conversation we had about the Renault Caravelle. And again, taking a look at this thing, you see a little bit of a commonality, a little bit similarity in design between it and the VW Carmen Ghia that we saw earlier. And the reason why? Same company designed it. This is what you drove around when you wanted to go in style in Europe back in the day.